Hey guys, it's Miss Daniels. I am here to go over day 26 reading journal with you guys. I'm really excited about this one because there's lots to think about. So let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so our prompt of the day is write about a time you traveled somewhere. Where did you go? What did you do? Who went with you? Those are all questions that we could answer in our writing today when we add our details. I'm really excited. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do according to Good Writer's checklist is we need to think. Well, this question lets us think about a lot of things. Think about a time that you traveled. Well, the first thing I wanted to think about was, how can you travel? Well, I've traveled in a car before. Cars help you to travel or get from one place to another. Buses help you to travel. Trains help you to travel. Planes help you to travel, and boats help you to travel. So traveling is basically getting from one place to another. So those are all different ways that we can get from one place to another. So when I think about traveling, it's also usually like longer distances. So it's not like I could walk to my next door neighbor's house. That's not really traveling. Traveling is like when I go to my grandma's house who lives in another state. Like, how do I get there? Well, usually I take a car, but there's other ways that I could get there too. So when I think of traveling, these are the different modes that I think of about traveling. So next, I thought about, where have I been? That takes me a little bit of time to get there. All right, well, one place I just mentioned was my grandma's house. My grandma lives in another state. She lives in Ohio. So I take the car to get to Ohio to get to her house. Okay, well, another place that's farther away is the beach. Well, I can take the airplane to get to the beach, or I could take a car to get to the beach, but the beach is pretty far away. The library in Lexington is one of my favorite places to go. And now that I live in Nicholasville, it's a little bit farther away. So a place that I've traveled would be the library. Another place that I've traveled that takes a little bit of time to go to is a place that I've been with you guys. And that was the pumpkin patch. And when I think about how I got there on a bus, which was one of the places or one of the ways that we talked about to travel. So those are just a few places that I've traveled to or been. I bet you guys could think of some places that you've traveled to or been to as well. Maybe your grandma doesn't live close by. Or maybe you want to write about the pumpkin patch. We all took that trip together. Or maybe you've been to the beach. Or maybe you've been somewhere like Kings Island or the zoo. All of those are different places that you could have traveled. Today, I'm going to choose to write about going to the pumpkin patch with you. So I took a bus. So I'm going to be writing about the bus and the pumpkin patch today. All right. So let's head back to our Good Writer's checklist. Think. All right. So I am going to think. I already decided I'm going to write about the pumpkin patch and I'm going to write about taking the bus there. Where did you go? Well, I went to the pumpkin patch. What did you do? Well, we did lots of fun things at the pumpkin patch. We did the haunted house. We played on a playground. We petted animals. We got to pick a pumpkin. We went on a hayride. There's so many things that I could write about. And who went with you? Well, you guys went with me, and the other kindergartners went with me. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some time to kind of organize my thoughts before I get started. This is just an anchor chart that I want to talk about real quick. So this is just going to help me organize my thoughts a little bit. You don't have to include this in your writing, but when I use this, it helps me to think about what I want to write and make sure I get everything in there. Where did we go? We went to the pumpkin patch. So here is my really quick pumpkin with the vines, and there were a lot of them, right? So I could add as many pumpkins as I wanted to. All right, so where did I go? I went to the pumpkin patch. How did I get there? Remember, I told you the mode of transportation or how we got there was the school bus. So here is my school bus. Okay, and what did we do there? Well, we went through the corn maze, right? All those stalks of corn. That was really fun. I could also add another what did I do there, because we did lots of things. What did I do? I went through the haunted house. That was a fun time. So I'm gonna make a house, and I may make like a ghost outside of it because there were some like ghosts inside. So there's my haunted house. Who went with me? Let's see. Well, I went with my class, so I could draw friends from my class. I went with Mr. Lewis. I could draw Mr. Lewis. I went with Miss Ogden. I went with lots of friends from my class. So see, I could add a lot of people that went with me. All right, so I'm gonna keep that kind of up above my writing so that I can remember all these things and I can remember them when I am writing my sentences. All right, so I did a lot of thinking. I think it's time for me to start drawing. All right, this is a picture that I could spend a whole lot of time on because there were a lot of details, but I'm just gonna draw a quick picture today. All right, so here is me because I am the one who traveled to the pumpkin patch. And let's see, I had on a long sleeve shirt because it was kind of cold that day. Some pants, and I feel like it was muddy too, so I had on some boots. Here's my hands. All right, so there I am at the pumpkin patch. Well, another thing that I liked about the pumpkin patch was the hayride. So there was like at the bottom of the hayride, and then there were some big tires on the hayride. And then up on the top were like those bales of hay. Do you guys remember sitting on those? And some of them were kind of pokey. But here I'm gonna draw somebody up on the hay bale. Here is their legs. And here's their body. And they were happy. So that was one of my favorite parts about the pumpkin patch. So, I may write that in my sentence, and remember I have lots of details that I could really include in my writing piece. All right, so I'm gonna stop drawing right now for the time being, but remember I can always go back and add more details, like I could draw a pumpkin patch in the background, lots of stuff. All right, looking at what good writers do, they think, they draw, they label. All right, so let's label. All right, so here I am, me. Here are my kindergarten friends. Kindergarten friends. And we went on a hayride. I could label things like hay, tires, tractor. I could add lots of labels. All right, so let's check the next thing. All right, it's time for us to write. Remember our question. Our question was, where did you go? So where did I go? I went to the pumpkin patch. Let's clap our sentence. I went to the pumpkin patch. I now need to count out my words. I went to the pumpkin patch. 6 words. I need to draw my lines. I, finger space, went to the, oh, no more room, pumpkin patch. Let's double check to make sure there are 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. So I'm going to put my period or my punctuation box at the end. I needs to be in uppercase. First letter is always uppercase. I went. Went to the pumpkin patch. All right, remember, we're gonna stretch it out and write the sounds that we hear. We're not gonna worry about spelling it perfectly, but we are going to work on writing down all the letters that we hear. All right, so here we go. Pumpkin, pumpkin, patch, ch. There's two letters that go together to make the ch sound, ch. I went to the pumpkin patch. My sentence is over. It's not a super excited sentence and it's not a question, so I'm just gonna put a period at the end to show it's a regular sentence. All right, look, I wrote my first sentence. I can go back to my question and see what comes next. Where did you go? I answered that one. What did you do? I went on a hayride. I went on a hayride. I went on a hayride. 5 words in this sentence. 1, no more room, next line. 2, finger space. 3, 4, 5. Let's put a box at the bottom for our punctuation. I went on a hayride. First letter needs to be uppercase. I went. I already wrote that word, so I can write it again. Went on a. Hey, I wrote hayride up here when I was labeling, so I can write that again. Hayride. My sentence is over. It's not a super excited sentence. It's not a question. It's just regular. Put my period. Guys, I could keep going and tell more and more and more details. Like another question I could answer is, who went with you? I could also incorporate the other things from my brainstorming earlier, right? Like, how did I get there? I rode a bus. We already said who went with me. And I could even tell some other things that I did there, like I went through a corn maze. I went through the haunted house. We can tell lots of details and keep adding details to our story. You can go on to the back and keep writing. All right, so I can't wait to hear about all the different places that you've traveled when I read this. Let's go back to our Good Writers checklist. We wrote. We made sure that we had first letter uppercase. We used finger spaces, we used punctuation. And remember, I told you you could always go back and add more details. Looking at our goals, I made my letters fit on the paper in the lines nice and neat. I used finger spaces, right? I started with a capital, ended with punctuation. I just wrote the sounds that I heard. And I wrote down the words like to, and the that I'm familiar with from the word wall. Guys, this is gonna be an awesome piece. I can't wait to read how you guys traveled and where you went. So, I look forward to reading those, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much.